2 million people. Take a moment to really think about that number. 2 million soldiers either killed, wounded, or missing in a conflict that many experts once believed would end within days. Instead, we are now 4 years into the Russia-Ukraine war. What has unfolded on those battlefields is something historians will be studying for generations. This is not simply another regional war. It has become the deadliest conflict Europe has seen since World War II. And the reality is that the true scale of destruction may be even greater than what the public currently understands. Welcome back to World Brief Daily. Today we are diving deep into the numbers behind 4 years of relentless warfare. We will explore the staggering casualty estimates, why accurate counts are so difficult to obtain, and what these figures reveal about where this war might be heading. If you are not yet subscribed to World Brief Daily, now is the perfect time. Hit the subscribe button and enable notifications because we publish detailed geopolitical analysis like this every single day. You will not want to miss what comes next. Let's return to the beginning. On February 24, 2022, Russia launched what it officially described as a special military operation against Ukraine. The word war was deliberately avoided. According to Moscow, this was meant to be a limited mission, quick, decisive, and politically controlled. The plan was straightforward: capture Kyiv quickly, remove the Ukrainian government, install a pro-Russian leadership, and conclude the operation within weeks. But events unfolded very differently. Instead of a rapid victory, the invasion turned into one of the largest military miscalculations of the modern era. What followed was a brutal and prolonged conflict that produced casualty numbers few analysts initially believed possible. Both Moscow and Kyiv stopped releasing reliable information about losses almost immediately. Russia had strong political reasons to conceal the scale of its casualties, while Ukraine had strategic reasons to keep its own numbers confidential. As a result, the world has had to piece together the reality using satellite images, battlefield footage, intercepted communications, and the investigative work of journalists and researchers. By late 2022, Western intelligence agencies began publishing their first serious estimates. According to U.S. officials at the time, Russia had suffered between 100,000 and 120,000 casualties during the first 10 months of the invasion. That figure included both killed and wounded personnel. Ukraine's losses were believed to be in a similar range. For military historians, these numbers were shocking. Casualty rates of this magnitude had not been seen in European warfare for decades. Then came 2023, and the situation deteriorated further. As the conflict shifted from rapid maneuver warfare to a grinding battle of attrition, daily losses increased rather than decreased. The British Ministry of Defense estimated in early 2023 that Russian forces were losing roughly 700 soldiers every day, hundreds more than the average daily losses during the previous year. In other words, an entire battalion's worth of troops was effectively disappearing every few days. By the middle of 2023, American officials told reporters that total casualties on both sides had already exceeded 500,000 people. That meant more than 500,000 soldiers had been killed or wounded in barely more than a year. One battle became the defining symbol of this phase of the war: Bakhmut. From August 2022 until May 2023, Russian forces repeatedly attacked Ukrainian defensive positions around the city. Among those fighting were thousands of Wagner Group mercenaries, many of them recruited from Russian prisons. The tactic was brutally simple: send wave after wave of infantry toward Ukrainian positions until the defenders were exhausted. By some estimates, Russia lost more than 20,000 soldiers during the campaign for Bakhmut alone, all for control of a city that was eventually reduced almost entirely to rubble. And yet the war did not slow down. By 2024, military analysts began describing Russian battlefield methods using a grim phrase: meat grinder tactics. Small groups of soldiers would advance toward Ukrainian lines to draw defensive fire and expose hidden positions. Once those positions were identified, artillery and drones would bombard them relentlessly before another infantry wave moved forward. The approach could produce limited territorial gains, but it consumed manpower at an alarming rate. In April 2025, NATO's Supreme Allied Commander Europe, General Christopher Cavoli, testified that Russia had suffered more than 790,000 casualties since the invasion began. British intelligence placed the number even higher, estimating that Russian losses had exceeded 1 million by the middle of 2025. The gap between these figures highlights a crucial reality. Calculating casualties in this war is extremely difficult. Neither side has been transparent. Russia has taken the most aggressive steps to control information. Casualty figures were classified as state secrets early in the conflict, and journalists who attempted to report on them faced severe legal penalties. Independent media outlets were shut down, and strict laws made even referring to the invasion as a war punishable by prison. State media consistently portrays Ukrainian losses as massive while downplaying Russian casualties. These narratives serve a political purpose. President Vladimir Putin has repeatedly framed the conflict as part of a historic struggle similar to the Soviet Union's fight against Nazi Germany during World War II. In that framing, sacrifice is presented as necessary and even patriotic. Ukraine has also carefully managed its messaging. Kyiv has frequently publicized Russian losses, particularly to demonstrate to Western allies that the weapons and funding provided are having an impact. At the same time, Ukrainian leaders have released far fewer details about their own casualties. President Volodymyr Zelensky first publicly acknowledged Ukrainian military deaths 2 years into the war, stating that around 31,000 soldiers had been killed. Later updates increased that figure, but many analysts believe the real number is significantly higher. Because official statistics are so unreliable, independent investigators have stepped in. One of the most detailed efforts has been conducted by Mediazona, a Russian investigative outlet working with BBC Russia and a network of volunteers. They compile confirmed deaths by examining local news reports, social media posts, and public records. By early 2026, they had verified more than 160,000 Russian military deaths by name. However, the researchers themselves emphasize that this is only a partial count. Many deaths go unreported or are deliberately concealed. Additional clues emerged when researchers discovered tens of thousands of legal cases filed by families seeking to declare soldiers officially missing or dead, a necessary step for receiving compensation. By early 2026, broader analyses suggested that Russia had suffered around 1.2 million casualties since the invasion began, including hundreds of thousands killed. Ukraine's total casualties were estimated to be between 500,000 and 600,000. Combined, that means roughly 1.8 million people have been killed or seriously wounded. At current rates, analysts expect the total to pass 2 million in the near future. To understand how extraordinary that is, consider this. Russia has now lost more soldiers in Ukraine than it did in all of its wars since World War II combined. And yet the fighting continues.